So this feels like it's been a while. So much has been going on. I haven't been able to do a piano book for some time. But Piano Book stops for no man. If you haven't been there for a while, pianobook.co.uk, loads of new goodies to be had. And loads of goodies that also need demos. Again, loads of kind of A-listers are using this community and are checking out demos. And I'm really impressed by the quality of the demos that are being submitted. And believe you me, just figuring out in my head, we will do something with these demos at some point, with your permission, naturally. For those of you who are new to Piano Book, it's basically a kicking off point for artists, musicians, composers, soundsmiths to get into the world of sampling. It's called Piano Book because we kind of started from the idea of, you know, pianos are fairly straightforward to sample because it's kind of note on, note off. But of course, Piano Book really goes beyond it just being pianos. And I want to highlight a few of those, well, non-piano highlights today, which I'll do a little bit later. Quick recap to those of you who are new to this. We've created a series of what's known as MVP templates, which is minimum viable product. I worked our way that we could sample pianos to an acceptable degree of realism within about 8 minutes. And after recording both at Air Studios and going down to visit our friend Max in Manchester, felt that it might be worth investigating a slightly more detailed way of sampling that takes just under an hour.
So here's the original MVP, which is less than 10 minutes to record. It's 3 passes, 2 slow passes, which is the actual notes themselves, the louder count and the quieter count, and then the release count, which goes quicker. So what it's designed to do is I've taken into account the lengths of the strings, how louder and quieter note hits affect the length of the ring out, and have adjusted the tempo accordingly. Look at the video down below. I take you through the process. Basically, the idea is if you sample to a click, then the editing is incredibly quick. For the quick Piano Book sessions at Air Studios, we also created, because they record everything into Pro Tools, a Pro Tools version of the MVP. It's exactly the same. It's not as colourful. Our quiet layer, our louder layer, and then our release triggers. And we have some audio both with click and with Kate. I thought they may want to separate those off for spill reasons, and then there's a full mix there. So exactly the same template, exactly the same tempo map. That's available to download as well, and any of you Pro Tools heads, if you want to do some work on this, make it maybe a little bit more colourful, that would be much appreciated. This has worked fantastically for many of the pianos on Piano Book, but with the Air piano, again linked below, you suddenly felt the strain of it being so shallow sampled. When you've got a note with a click in, you're really committed to having that click in for quite a large portion of your keyboard. Remember, we're going up in fifths here. So what I thought I'd do before going to visit our friend Max to record his Bentley is to create a slightly more detailed MVP so that we can have a little bit more room for maneuver, but also introduce something called the round robin, which basically means that every time you repeat the note, it's not the same sample, alongside some considerations for the different releases. So let's open that session, the new MVP session. So instead of going up in major fifths, we're going up in a mixture of major and minor thirds. You'll see here, so C, E, G, B natural, D, F sharp, A, etc., etc. Like the original MVP, we have a quiet count in and a louder count in. Again, we have our release triggers. Now, the difference, other than there being more notes with the other MVP, is also I've introduced 3 round robins. I think do round robins as odd numbers because music tends to be square. So you will hear the repeated pattern of a round robin if you do them in square numbers. So if you do 4 round robins or 8 round robins. For the session with Max was very busy, so I didn't want to completely bog us down with doing 5 round robins. I did 3. So what you can see here is basically Kate announces the note
C0.
She cues me in with an and. So then we have one note and then
Off.
And what I do with the off is that is my command to kind of lift the note up as quietly as humanly possible, not producing a release trigger, so that we are basically clear by the beginning of this bar. So it's
Off.
Gently off, should be off by here. And then this is obviously incredibly slow because this is the lowest note.
And
then round robin 2.
And
round robin 3. And then towards the end, we've got our release triggers where I press the note down and actively...
I don't know about you, but I'm very excited about playing Max's Bentley, particularly because of the water. Right. Oh, that's a nice distorted image of my face. Just as we were about to start setting the mics up, you started going all weird and talking about water.
Yeah.
What's this?
Well, I was just saying, does your piano have water in it? My piano tuner, he always puts jugs of water in the pianos. It's something to do with condensation, humidity. So, take this off. And here, there is literally just jugs of water inside. I think there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about 6 litres of water. And what he does, he marks them off. So we fill them up every time it gets tuned. Fill them up, mark it. And then he comes again in 6 months and you'll see how much water it's taken up.
But what does it do?
I don't know, it's some science that I don't understand. But I mean, he swears by it. I know other tuners say it's like not a thing. But
I'm just so imagining the piano tuners sitting around the pub table going, yeah, and with this one guy, I put all of these jugs of water.
Comfort softener. I mean, he made me cut, I made those. So, yeah, maybe he was just having me on.
A lot of you have also been saying that you'd possibly like to try putting together one of these piano instruments yourselves, although you don't have pianos to sample. So what I thought I'd do is offer up this session to the community to maybe do a collaborative effort to play to our strengths, to organise a sample relay, if you will, of the various different stages that are required. So let me take you through where we're at with the session.
I think there's several stages that need to happen before we get it into contact. The first is that it needs a tidy. You'll see that we're still in this, I hate this mode in Logic, this way of creating comps. Basically, I'd go to Max, no, let's do that note again, and he'd do another take. So that needs to be looked into and tidied up. I would personally recommend baking it into single long files again. You'll see that there's also some pickups here. So there's some production choices to be made between the original takes and these pickup takes. You'll see that it's recorded at, Max is very cautious about the headroom, so it's recorded at quiet level. I would recommend, once baking everything into single long files again, of normalizing the maximum peak, which is there. Not normalizing each sample separately. That's an absolute room 101 for us at Spitfire and for me with Piano Book, because you get all sorts of differing noise floors. So we've got 3 mics, the Coles, the 414 left, 414 right. So these are monophiles. You may decide to bounce the 414s down as a stereo file. That'll be the first step, tidying, possibly normalization, and then you want to edit it before doing the noise reduction. As you can see, again, you'll be editing every 2 bars. And just one last heads up. So if we go to the release triggers here, and this is something I've not really got my head around, but basically I wanted to do a tuned release trigger with what we call afterglow, which is the reverberation of the cabinet itself. That's something I don't think many sample libraries capture, but also just a dead. So you'll hear with the counting of the round robins, you'll actually hear me depress the note so that when I let go of it, the note rings out in the cabinet.
C0. And off.
So you can actually hear, let's just cancel Kate there on the off moment. That I think it's a useful component for us, but again, haven't figured out in my head how we're going to implement it into the instrument. Then you'll see she cues me again, and you'll hear this is more of an untuned release. Incredibly quiet, but important for the perceived reality of the piano. Noise reduction, and again, very much interested to see how you approach that, and then implementing into Contact. Something that we haven't looked at is how to do round robins, and I would really appreciate anyone who's contributing to this process to show us how they go about doing that.
Mate, you've forgotten titling. That's the most arduous bit. Does anyone know how to use quick keys, for example, example. And please, wherever possible, if you can do little video tutorials for how you've done the process, that would be absolutely fascinating. Deliver them via Dropbox or WeTransfer, or just unpublished, or put them up on YouTube so we can rip them and create a making of vlog episode once this piano is live. I don't think the submissions form is the way to do this piano. I think we should do it via the forum. Maybe people can WeTransfer or Dropbox it. I don't know. I leave it up to the community. I'll set up a thread listed below, which will give you access to the file as it currently stands. And as for other pianos that you're submitting, we do them in batches. This is because everyone who has volunteered for Piano Book are very busy individuals, so we kind of do them in batches and then announce them on Twitter, that kind of stuff. I do feel we're getting to a point where we're going to need some more help. I will shout out to you as and when. There's some really exciting stuff coming up though. I've found another Rustygate type of thing, but it's worse. More about this soon. How about some new submissions to Piano Book then?
Inspiration taken from the wow and flutter of a detune tape. I sampled a pad and soaked it through a volante, a magnetic tape delay and big sky reverb pedal. The result sounds as something of a timbral degradation. The mod wheel adds drive. Lovely, beautiful mono quality to it. Love stuff like this, really inspiring. We next have the FUX pad. I think it's trying to say a really naughty word. The Intelligel Cyclonic Cycle Box is one of my favourite Eurorack modules. It's a wavetable oscillator that definitely was not held by its mummy. It's great for sound design and rhythmic noise pads, but it's also quite musical. I thought it would be a great subject to try out with contact sampling method that you're all using with the Piano Book project. 4 layers from warm to chill, moved through a Marshall amp, are selected via velocity. I'm nervous already. Right. Oh, ouch. So I've got to be really quiet. Interesting doing pads in those ways using velocity. My one tip is that I think that you've got to maybe put more of the layers above 100. It's really difficult with MIDI keyboards to play under 100. A lot of these instruments you buy that have just loads of dynamic layers which you activate via velocity, if they're below 100 you will rarely hear them, or certainly when you're playing them they're very difficult to control. It'd be great if someone could maybe grab the Cyclebox Fux pad and see if they can actually turn it into a dynamically cross-fadable. It's in cross-fading between the various different layers. You have more control, but you can swell whilst you actually, the note is depressed, which I think is far more useful for long synth notes like that. That's just my humble opinion. Next up, again, very much in the spirit of Piano Book, these are layers for air piano. And this gentleman has basically built a kind of layering engine within Contact, and these are designed to be put under the air piano. Raoul has also done us a video, which again, I know that some people are camera shy, but even if it's off camera, screen flow, if you can submit videos, it gives much more of a sense of this kind of community effort and us sharing knowledge, that kind of stuff. Oh, interesting. Now, if I add the air piano, absolutely lovely. I'm just going to actually add a little channel EQ, something I prepared earlier. Imagine with kind of delays and beaucoup de reverb. This mix is mighty. There ain't no reverb. And as I say, kind of ad nauseum, it's not just about pianos. And we've got the great example of someone just nabbing an old vintage glockenspiel and giving the community something that's colourful and gorgeous. Marvellous. And in desperate need of a demo, if anyone has any ideas, something like that, contextual, would be amazing to hear. I love it. It's beautiful. It's not perfect in a good way. And I reckon could be quite dark and sinister if you wanted it to be. So this is from Billy Palmer, who sampled this piano super late one night at his university to help him underscore a cartoon. Each note is sneaky staccato with a unique preparation. Find out more on the site, but this is a very inspiring bit of kit to use.
The weather's closing in on me. Do keep submitting your pianos, do keep contributing to the forum, comments welcome down below, and do subscribe if you haven't done already, because there's loads of goodies coming up, not least Max's Bentley piano, I hope. We'll see how we get along. Ding that bell so you get notified the next time we put a video up, and one of those to the amazing work of the piano book community and the wonderful pianos and toy pianos and pads that they're submitting. It's a truly wonderful thing. Right, the weather really is closing in, so I'm going to scarper. See you next time.